let's work on the hidden kangaroo pocket for the asteroid shirt. I've cut out all of the front pieces here. So this turquoise will be the shirt front. This plum will be the welt piece. And if you notice, the welt piece, I've cut out the opening for the welt, but not on the fabric, just on the pattern piece. The bright pink will be the inner pocket piece, and then the bright purple will be the outer pocket piece. Sort of have a 90s vibe going on right now. But I wanted to make every piece a different color, that's so you could see what is going where. With the shirt front, I've cut out the welt placement, and I'm going to take a marker. This is just one of my kids' washable markers. I think this one is scented. It doesn't have to be scented. And I'm going to mark the corners of this welt. And so then I will do it on this side too. And you will get to see the scrap paper that I am printing my my patterns on. So let's extend this a little bit. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and extend it on this side too. Just line everything up. Because this washes away, it's no big deal. We'll just go ahead and extend that. And so it might be hard to see on camera, but right here we have the two welt placement markings on the right side of the front piece. And so with the actual welt pieces, we will want to flip them over to the wrong side. So right side and then this wrong side. And we will mark the welt placements on the wrong side of the pocket welt pieces. This one might not show up very well on camera with the orange, so I'm going to switch to a Sharpie. Obviously, you will not want to do it with a Sharpie on your finished project, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm using a Sharpie. And we'll go ahead and do that for this piece. There we go. And the most important thing is we make sure that our corners are very defined, because that's what we are going to be lining up. Once everything is marked, we are going to line up our welt pieces on top of the shirt front. And what I like to do is I like to take a pin, poke it right into the corner, and then find the corner on the actual shirt piece, and that lines up the corners. And we'll do that with the second corner. So we'll poke right, find the corner just on the welt piece, and then we will take the point of the needle or of the pin, poke it right in. So once those two corners are lined up, kind of smooth everything out, and then just make sure. So when I flip this back, the two markings are lined up. So everything is good, and we'll just go ahead and finish pinning these corners. And I'll go ahead and just keep that in place. And then we'll repeat on the second side. Check back. So this one is a little bit off. Let's just go in and make sure that it's lined up. Yep, everything's lined up now. The bottom inner corners of your welt markings actually line up with the edge of the shirt front. And so they line up. And then the outer bottom corners are going to hang off the edges. We'll deal with that later. So now, your next step would be to sew around these boxes. I will sew this and I will come right back. Yay, we are back. We have sewn our welt pieces to our shirt front. Now, we are going to cut right up the middle. And when we get close to the end, maybe about a finger width away from the seam, we're going to make a Y cut, getting as close to these corners as possible without getting into the stitches. And we'll do that to this other end too. For this bottom edge, you can cut just straight out the bottom like this. I'll do it on this side. So I will just cut straight through the bottom. This one is optional. There's no right or wrong. Because it's off the edge of the shirt, it doesn't matter. It could be a little easier for you to cut straight through. It doesn't really matter. Now we are going to flip the whole thing over and pull the welt piece in through that rectangle. And because we're working with fleeces, this is more of an athletic fleece, and so it doesn't want to hold its shape, it just wants to be very drapey. We will have to pin this in place. And so that's what we will do right now. So we'll just turn it right side out and we'll pin. Make sure you get that nice corner. You can see the corner. We'll pin this. And then we'll pin once at the top. When we get to this long edge, we don't want to pin this in place. We want to fold it up and then fold it back, just like that. And you'll notice when you fold this edge, the edge of the welt piece will line up with the edge of your seam allowance, what is now your seam allowance. And so we'll go ahead, just kind of pin this to keep it from sliding around. Just like that. We'll repeat that for this other side. And I'll be right back with that. Everything is pinned into place. We want to take our inner pocket piece. So if you laid it like this, little wrinkles, but the wrinkles won't matter. You'll notice that it follows the angle of the welt pieces, and that will be our end goal. But right now, we are going to take it off to the side and line it up with the seam allowance and the inner edge of the welt piece. And we will pin those. And what the goal is to pin just the inner piece to the seam allowance of the welt piece. So we are not touching the actual body of the shirt. and we will sew right along. If you wanted to fold it back even, you would sew right along this seam again, attaching the inner piece to the shirt body. I'll be right back. The inner pocket piece has been sewn just to this seam allowance within the inside of the shirt. And so when you flip it over, there's no seam here. You don't want to have any seam. You don't want to sew all the layers together. Now that this is secured, we can remove those pins and kind of get them out of the way. And when we flip the shirt right side up, we will fold this side over. This could be considered the burrito method. It's sort of the burrito method on an angle because nothing's parallel. But we'll just flip the shirt over, fold it so we see the inside edges of this welt, and we'll line up this side. We'll pin and we'll sew again, and I will show you what happens when we get back. Everything is sewn, both sides. We will turn this right side out and put the entire shirt front facing down. And now you'll notice that you have really nice finish edges. There are no open seams. Everything's covered and enclosed. Let's add the outer pocket piece. It's actually the inner pocket piece because it's the side closest to your skin, but I'm calling it the outer pocket piece. And one common thing that most of my testers did was they put the piece upside down because naturally you just want it to follow the edges of the pockets, but we want the sides of the outer pocket piece to follow the sides of the top, because then they will get encased in the side seam. So once everything is lined up, we are going to kind of stick our hand underneath the inner pocket piece and just pin the two pocket pieces together. Again, this is one of those we don't want to sew onto the shirt body itself. We just want to sew these two pieces together. So what you can do is you can fold everything up and you'll see that this is open, and just start sewing these two pieces together in between the two pocket pieces, or the two pocket openings. So sew from here to here. When you have the two pocket pieces, so see, I can put my hand in between the shirt body and the pocket. Just the two pocket pieces are sewn together. I serged all the way across the top. If you don't have enough seam allowance, you can just sew in between the two pockets. Now once that is done, you will want to come in and top stitch along the outer edge of the welt openings and then along the top. And along the top, you'll want to do a reinforcement stitch or a tack bar stitch along the top, because that's going to have a lot of pressure on it and you don't want that to rip out. So just add a little bit of a reinforcement to the top. I've top stitched along the outer edge and then along the top, and I did that reinforcement stitch. And now everything about your internal kangaroo pocket is done. You will secure the sides, all of the sides, in the side seam when you attach the front to the back, and then when you attach the bottom hem, this opening down here will be all enclosed and ready to go. If you want to, you can trim off this extra welt piece. I find that that's a little easier if you decide to trim it off. I would go ahead and baste along these edges just to make sure that nothing moves when you attach the front piece to the back piece. And that is an internal kangaroo pocket without a lot of top stitching or seam showing. Everything's just sort of hidden inside. I hope this helped. Thank you.